And he said that the government has literally scared them to stop being traditional. But I just said to him, I said, honey, when you guys break something, I said, how do you handle it? I said, you go to the doctors? He said, no, we just wrap it up and it'll heal itself within a couple of weeks. I said, good, okay. But I didn't wrap mine up because I think I'd broken this arm 4 times. This is my 4th time I broke it.
Oh
but
my God.
when I heard it snap, it wasn't like my other ones where I had to have them pull it. It wasn't a complete fracture. It was just a hairline, I think. But I wasn't sure, but it was pretty bad because you'll see pictures. But anyway, but things from nature, certain trees have beneficial nutrients in that ash. But again, you got to know what you're doing. And they will make bread and so forth with that ash to get the nutrients. So there's power in everything that we're talking about. There's this power that we're learning from the tribes.
Welcome back to the Rooted in Resilience podcast. Today is another discussion with our friend Suze, who has visited a number of indigenous tribes. In today's conversation, we are continuing on exploring her exploration, visiting the indigenous tribes in Africa. So one of the tribes that we'll be talking about today is the Maasai. And I just love learning about what they eat day to day and how they acquire their food. So I hope you guys enjoy the continued discussion with Suze.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that was the Dakota.
The toga. Yes. Now we're in
Toga.
Iraq. Now Iraq, you'll see that they are not dressed traditionally. They have plastic chairs. They become much more Americanized, Westernized. And I talked in depth with the lead man. I called him I wrote it down in one of my notes, but he was so loving, so willing to just tell us anything. And he said that the government has literally scared them to stop being traditional. And I said, what does that mean? And I said, I said, are you still drinking raw milk? And he goes, no, they told us we can't drink raw milk anymore because it's just too dangerous. And I said, really? Oh, I'll go back here. So this is our next campsite. So here we are in our next campsite. So every time we go, we have to set up a new campsite. And this is their home area. It was beautiful. The interesting thing about this tribe, he is so pristine. The other Datoga tribe, they weren't as clean as this tribe. And it made a difference in terms of the flies.
Oh,
and
that's
so
good.
I could not believe they have all the dirt. They have all the animals living right there. They even, again, the animals, many of the baby animals will live right in the huts with them. So you'll have chickens in there, you'll have baby, goats, and you'll have the lambs are all living right in with them. And it's adorable. They're just all in there with them, but it's so clean. The other Datoga wasn't as clean. They were not pristine. And I kept saying to Mateo, because I'm like a clean freak. I said, look how clean the dirt is. I said, I know it kind of sounds weird, but I said, they must be sweeping, they must be cleaning here. And I said, I've got to find out. So you'll see that there's pictures I'm going to show. And I said to them, I said, it's so clear. There's no flies here. And it was because they are so meticulous about keeping it clean. It was amazing. I said, I could easily live like this. I could easily live in their environment. Now, in this picture, you're going to see what their food is. So they boil their milk now. They do not drink it raw. They boil it. They do go to have doctor checks up. They do get vaccines. They have started doing these things because they said they're afraid. And I said, have they asked you about changing your crops? Because these are agro-pastoralists. So Iraq tribe, they grow crops and they also have their livestock. So they're agro-pastoralists. And but look how cozy the home is. It's so cozy,
The home looks nice.
There they are sitting around their fire and they're cooking. And they're cooking right here. They're getting ready to cook their the beans and the corn, the matoka, what I call it. I forgot what I called it, but it's in my notes. But this is the beans and the corn that they're going to be cooking. They also do, again, the ugali. And so that's become a huge piece to their diet. This is the beans and the corn.
Okay.
In the second picture. And and so again, it's the makande, and that's become their big piece in their health. And so I had a lot of conversations on live Instagram chats with them. So again, their diet was mostly, again, that they do have the raw milk, well, the boiled milk, and the meat isn't really consumed very often. Not really a lot. They're eating more of the grains and the beans. But their health was not bad. There was only one man that had, he was my age, he was 62 years old. And when he was 40, all of his teeth had to be removed because he ended up getting periodontal disease, which is very rare in the tribes, especially this kind of a tribe. But is it because they're eating more of the grains and the beans? Because you would never see that in the pastoralists that do not consume those. None of them. And I asked Mateo, I said, have you ever heard of a Maasai having period? He didn't know what that was. I'd explain it to him. And he said, no, not at all. You would not see that in our tribe. Interesting. And yeah, I took pictures of a lot of their teeth, and they were beautiful. They were beautiful. So I thought that was really interesting. A lot of things I was like, oh my golly, what could be causing this? Now look at this. So the children are very active. The women, this is what they do. Always they're going and getting firewood. They've got to keep the fire going all the time because that's what they do. They're cooking on. And so you can see the children. He had 8 children. And so Mar, I call him Mar. And they had 8 children, and they were so busy. Now, Happiness, her name is Happiness. Isn't it beautiful? Oh, mm-hmm. She and I we're just bonding. Oh my gosh, I just adore her. She's always, would you like more? Would you like more milk? More? It's always, oh honey. She goes out and she gets some bush things off of the tree, and she's sweeping. This is how they keep it so clean. It was so beautiful. And look at her. Look at this beautiful face. So she just handed me another glass of milk. And, but I asked, I said, I'll just take it raw. So you don't have to boil it. So they went and they got they went and took it right out. I think that's goat milk. I think that was goat. And they just handed it to me because I said, I really prefer it. Because I wanted to show them. I said, you can go back if it's really okay to do. Don't be afraid. I said, it's okay to drink raw milk. We do, And Mateo said, yeah, Maasai still drink raw milk. We don't boil. Never. We're not going to do that. So we're hoping that maybe it kind of gave them some more confidence to go back to the traditional ways. But they're being very much so intimidated by the government to change.
I can't believe they're being vaccinated.
Yeah, they're being
That's
intimidated.
Crazy.
So here we are sitting out with them again, and this is the family, and they had their babies, and it was just so beautiful. Again, you could see that they're giving milk to Mateo. It was just a remarkable, just a wonderful family. They were just so giving, and of course they live differently too. Their people are quite far away. They're not in like all together like you see in the Maasai. Their hut was here, and this was the hut that we came to with the Hadzabi when we were out hunting, that they had given us milk. And we were supposed to go to another. And again, because I'm always praying, everywhere I go, even though I have plans, I will always say to God, please place me where you want me to be. And of course, Mateo would always hear me saying my prayers and things. And we would normally, it was supposed to be, it would take us another day to get to the other tribe. And when we were with the Hadzabi and we stopped to get milk at hunting, they were so congenial. And I just said, wouldn't it be fun if we could just stay here? And so Mateo said, would you like to have us visit you and we could stay here? And they're like, yes. And I go, oh my God. So we ended up staying there, and it was so beautiful. And so again, God wanted me to learn from them, and we ended up just staying there instead. So got to spend more time instead of a day on the road. So we got to spend more time with the tribe. So now we're heading for our first Maasai tribe. So now we're going to talk about the Maasai. So here we are getting ready to leave. And on our way, we stopped there's this famous body of water, and it's Lake Natron. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's where 75% of the flamingos go to nest and to have their babies. And so it's just, look at that. Look how beautiful. If you kind of zoom in on the third picture, you can see there's thousands of flamingos out there. Look at them all.
Wow.
Remarkable. And the water, the pH is like a 10. It is it's so powerful. If you put your hand in it, it would burn you. But these birds have learned to adapt to be able to handle this. And so therefore they don't have any predators that can come after them, because predators can't go in the water.
Yeah.
It's really
Wow.
quite brilliant. So again, it's shocking. I was just like overwhelmed by, look at this. I read about this for years, and then to be there, it was amazing. But I was wearing barefoot shoes, and the heat was so intense. It was on the ground. It was literally starting to burn my feet, and I still had, even though I had, it's a very thin sole I had, but it was like, wow. It was like I was barefoot on it. It was really very, very hot, very, very hot. But it was so fascinating. So here we go. So now we're starting. This is Mateo's family that we're entering. So this first picture is, again, the beautiful warriors that you hear about. This is called the Murans. And this is a period between the ages of 15 to 30 that the boys will be in this state. And this is the state where they only live on meat, blood, and milk. And primarily meat and blood. And it's powerful, and they are a different breed. You know, I couldn't believe it. This is at a wedding we were at. We'll talk about the wedding. It was just overwhelming. But and of course, in the next picture, this outside in the middle picture, that was them at their church. That was their church we went to. Look in the middle. That was Mateo's, and their church service is normally on a Sunday, but we were going to be leaving on a Thursday, and I just said, but I want to stay. I want to see a church. And they said, we'll have church. We'll have a service for you. And it was, of course, I did live chat from there. I was just sobbing. It was so beautiful. And their Bibles are written in Ma. Ma is the Maasai language. And they were singing. It was just so beautiful. And so church means a lot to them. And they said sometimes when it rains, they can't have church because they don't have a roof to go over. And I said, I wish so badly I was a millionaire. I said, so I could afford to put a pavilion here that you could go and have your church. And I said, I'll work on that. I said, I'll pray that God will bring me somehow. I could do something to have something beautiful that they can go to church in. But it was just so beautiful. I'm sorry, guys. They're my heart. Okay, so this is our campsite here, and we had quite a lot of action happening in this campsite. So we had 3 tents up here because we were going to be doing some slaughtering. We were going to live truly the way that the Maasai do. So the middle tent, if you can see, my tent's the one that's got the big tarp over it, because in this region they were going to get a lot of rain at nighttime, and because my tent's like I call the organic tent. I didn't want a tent that had all these chemicals for rain protection and waterproofing, and it's just too toxic. So they wanted to make sure. So Maneno, my cook, he was always watching over me, and he would always make sure that my tent was protected. So that's the one that's got the big tarp over it. The one right here, the first one that you see, that was our supply tent. That was where we were going to put a lot of our slaughtered meat that we would be consuming throughout the week. And then the back tent, that's where the boys were sleeping. So I just want you to understand that, because something big happens when we're there. I was like, it was one of my fear factor moments. Again, so the whole time I'm on this trip, I'm in total fear factor 24/7, because I have a severe phobia of snakes. And the fact that I can even say that word now is pretty big, because I never have been able to say it throughout my life until about 3 months ago. And so here, again, you're in fear factor because you don't know from one moment to the next what you're going to see, including the insects. The insects can be very poisonous at times. There's just different kinds of things I didn't know existed, which you'll see happen to me. There's a nice shot of it. But so here they all are. They're coming over to sit and to visit with us and all the tribe. And it was just so fun to have them there with us. But we're right there in their boma. Now, a boma is, you'll see coming up, the Maasai boma. So what a boma is you can see their huts. Looks a little different than what you would see. Some of the huts can be pointed, and some of the huts can be more flat looking. But again, the woman, now Mateo's father has 4 wives. Okay. And Mateo's mother was the first wife. She has 11 children. With all of the 4 wives, his father has 32 children. And it makes sense now that I was there, because there's so much work to be done. And they all are tending, but each wife will have their own home, and each wife will build her own home. So when he marries that woman, she will spend a month or 2 building the home. That's her job, is to build that home.
Wow.
And other women will come from the community, might help as well. So they aren't alone, but but that's her response. This is her home. She's going to build it. And then all his other wives, he will have a home, so he will go between them. And so in this boma, the boma is your home. And it's also in the back, that second picture. See all those sticks there? It's like a fence. Okay, Mateo built that. He and his brother had built that. This is his brother's wife's home. Okay, so his brother lives there. Mateo's stepmother, the father's fourth wife, lives there. Okay, some aunts and uncles live there. So this is all family within this region. Okay, and they've all got their fencing for their animals, their livestock. This fencing you're seeing right there, that big thing there, that's for the goats and the sheep. If you look, I couldn't get it in the picture, but more towards this way, as if we're walking towards it, there's the cattle. The cows are there. Okay. And then like the babies, all the babies and so forth, they've got a little pen for them. But a lot of like the goats and the sheep will be right in the home, and the chickens. Because
that's great.
Because, and now this is a project I'm working on right now. As a matter of fact, I was just talking with the boys this morning because I'm going to buy this. Okay. This, again, everything's out of my own pocket right now. And I'm running out of money, but God will provide. So what I'm going to do is, the past 2 weeks, they've lost so much of the goats and lambs and sheep because of the hyenas. There's so many hyenas there, and they don't have lighting. There's no electricity. And so I said, we got to do something. I got to save the animals. And so I found a man online who sells solar panels. And so Mateo met with him this morning. Well, it's tonight for them. And they found a package that we're going to do. So within the next couple of days, you're going to see videos of putting up that we're going to show. We're going to install a solar panel, I think, on the top of the roof. And then we're going to put spotlights out at nighttime because the hyenas don't like light. And that will be able to protect them and save them from the hyenas killing the animals. And if this works, I hope it does, then I'm hoping, I would love to, again, part of a foundation I'd like to start is to be able to put solar panels in a lot of the regions for the Maasai to protect their animals, because they're just, if it's not drought season, they're dying. It's the animals killing them.
Suze, get low EMF panels.
Yes, I said that. I said we have to know what the amount of radiation coming off and the EMFs coming off. I said, because it can be powerful. It can be awful.
That's great. Yeah. Wow.
So it's so much happening. But anyway, with this one, so now here's the family. Because I've always wanted to be a Maasai. I've been studying Maasai since I was a little girl. My grandmother was lived with the tribes when I was a little girl, but she was in Tanzania. No, she was in Kenya, and then she was also in Liberia. And so for 3 years, she was teaching with the tribes there. And so I've been studying them, but Maasai were my go-to. I want to be a Maasai. And so here I was, and they said, now you're a Maasai. So I was so happy. But they made me, before I came, the women had made me look at the belt. And I got the things here. They made it by hand, girls. Look at this belt. Look at the detail on it.
Oh, wow. What is it made out of?
So it's got leather from their cows, and then it's all these beads that they get.
That's beautiful.
And then the jewelry, they just were putting so much, and then they made me this to put my cell phone in. You can see I'm wearing it around my neck to put my cell phone in.
Oh, that's so cool.
So, I mean, it's so many unbelievable things that they were just showering me with, And then Mateo, he had his sister make myself and my children and my granddaughter, and our names are all on them. And then on the sides, there's the American flag and the Tanzania. It was joining our two families together so that we're one.
Oh, I love that. That's a bracelet?
Yes.
That's so pretty.
It's just so beautiful. So I lived in my shuka. That's called a shuka that you wear. I wore those all the time. So I was just part of them. And they were just, I've never felt in my life so loved, so accepted. And I look so different than they do. And they were just so accepting of me. And they were just so wanting to teach me and have me right there to be with them. It was, again, so profound, so profound. And this is his mom. The woman on the end, that was his mom. On
the right side?
On the third picture, that's his mom.
Beautiful.
Yeah. All right, so here we are in one of the slaughter. This is a slaughter camp. Now, this is not the slaughter camp that the warriors would go to. They just have a slaughter camp throughout the week, and this is where they would get their meat for the whole village that they would be eating. So this is how they do this. And I was like, and women are not allowed here. Women are not allowed to be there. So it was a privilege and an honor for me to be able to be welcomed there. And I was like, there's body parts hanging in the trees, look at that, there's a head. Oh, look at that, there's a leg, I was like, and what is this all about, It's like kind of, you'll see there's pictures I think I've got close-ups of them coming up on the next slide.
So this is their domesticated animals, and one time a week they would kill one of their domesticated animals.
1 to 2 times a week they'll slaughter one, but not a cow. The cow is only slaughtered because that's their, the cow is revered. The cow is only slaughtered for a celebration, whether it's a wedding or a circumcision, something like that. Otherwise, it would be the lamb or a sheep or a goat. And so, but it's not just from their herds, it's from the neighbors as well. So, because otherwise they would be depleted very quickly. So they share amongst, but then you can see it doesn't go very far. There's not a lot. And I'll tell you as we go along. So here you can see in this picture, you can see he's got his, in the first picture, he's got his machete. The men, they've got that amazing machete with him all the time. And boy, does that come in handy. I thought, boy, I need to get one of those. Because they're always cutting things and they're not washing. It's always ready there. And they just kind of wipe it off on a leaf or something. They put it back in their little holder. And they're cutting up the raw meat and they're going to be boiling it. And it is just phenomenal. It's just so fresh. Talk about fresh. So fresh. And, the organs go to the Pacific. So the women, I can't remember what it is. The women will get the liver from I'm probably wrong on this, the cow and the sheep, I think. And the old men get the liver from the goat, I think.
Interesting.
Yeah. But interesting, they knew that the women should have the liver because why? Because the iron, when they have they're losing the iron. And so they need to replenish it more than the men would because they're getting plenty of iron from the meat. But interesting that they knew that the women are going to get more of the liver than I thought it was fascinating. I was like, oh, they're smart. Yeah. But anyway, so the next slide. I think we have the body parts, I think. Yeah. You can see the trees. The middle one is the head. And then you got the leg is hanging on the third one. And the other one, the first one is like a suet, a lot of fat hanging because they want to dry it out not for very long. It's a very short time. They dry it because they said it cooks better when it's a little drier. So it's not for very long, but they dry it a little bit and it cooks a lot. I'll go, oh, suet's one of my favorites. I go, good. So that goes in their soups. And their soup, and this is another thing I'm studying. This is very, very important to listen to. Their soup is something they believe, and I believe it with all my heart and soul. I believe this is part of the reason why they're healthy. There's something to this. They call it their herbs. They call it bark. It's not just bark. It's branches with the bark on it. And they take this special branch. I think it's the acacia. I will be writing about this. I'm writing a paper on this as well. They take this special tree branch and they slam it and they pound it and they kind of split it apart. So it's breaking again all of the fibers apart. Like we talked about in the Dani tribe when they were breaking apart to get the salt water into the banana thing. But they're breaking this apart. They boil this in water. They don't consume the plant itself, but the nutrients that have been extrapolated into the water, that's the key. Because then they take that and they stir it into their soup that's got massive amounts of fat. Okay? Massive amounts of saturated fat, all of this stuff. And I asked them about this. I said, there's something about, and it has to be stirred for a half an hour. Has to. And to see them stir it, they take such pride in this. It's like, and they're just so adamant, it has to be done this way. I'm telling you, and they told me, I said, what do you think is the health benefit? And they said, it helps us to digest the fat better. It's helping us. And so I'm wondering if there's something nutrient-wise, something that's in these plants that they're consuming, and they put it in their chai tea as well. They have tea every morning. And that chai tea is milk and water, these crushed plants, the bark and the branches, and either honey or cane sugar. And they drink that every morning and sometimes at night. And it's got to have this in it. And I think that there's something to that. And in my research, it is pointing to that there is some powerful mechanisms in these plants. They're helping them with saturated fat, all of the cholesterol. It is helping to balance things. And so there's something about this. So stay tuned. I'll be writing about this. It's
fascinating.
Powerful, very powerful. And so here we are. They're splitting up their pieces and everyone's got their machete out. So they just cut off their portion that they're going to have and they take it. But it wasn't a lot to me because they have to go take it to the women. And they have to take it to the elders and to the neighbors. The neighbors will get, I think they give a neighbor one leg. They will take one of the big legs to a neighbor. They're always giving, always sharing and giving. And it's so profound. And I said, but what do you do when you go to the slaughter camp and you're gone for a month with the warriors? What do they do? He said, they will bring pieces back. No matter how far away they are, they will bring pieces back. Everyone's got it. You can't eat the share that doesn't belong to you. I'm like, wow, isn't that powerful?
On this day, how much meat would they have?
I didn't get a lot. I'm just gonna say. And so, they're most of their diet is milk. Most of their diet is milk. And again, I asked again, I'm talking Mateo all the time. So we were talking today and I said, honey, I said, just can you reiterate to me? I said, even years ago, even before the land was taken away, what has the diet been? And he said, milk's always been a really huge part of it. And he goes, women, milk is definitely a big thing for them. Meat for men between 15 and 30. In the warrior, it's the meat and the milk, because that, I write about in a slide. That is their mental strength and their physical strength is huge. And they believe that comes from the milk, the meat, and the blood. And so they consume that immense amounts in that period. But before that period for the men and after that period, it's not anymore. They become more milk-based.
So they go between 15 and 30. They spend 15 years in a slaughter camp as a warrior?
No. For every once in a while, they will go. It's not all the time.
Oh, okay.
So they'll go for 3, which I want to do with you guys. So this summer, I'm hoping, if we got to raise our money, for 3 to 4 weeks, we will go to a slaughter camp. And we will be able to test it, because wait till I tell you later, eventually, on another talk, what I found, what happens when they're during the slaughtering camp, when the blood work is done. It's powerful. And so it's interesting. So only during the time they go to slaughter camp, when they come back from the slaughtering camp, they have to go out and tend to they're learning to protect their tribe, their area, their family. And so they're out learning I've got to be able to protect the animals when I'm out there, and I've got to protect my home as well. So that 15-year period, they're learning to manage and become elders.
I see. So it'll be on occasion, though. It's not like a constant 365.
Right. Yeah, okay. Only get time. And this is I want people to understand, even though, but and I have a video coming out soon of an actual warrior who's in that period. Boy, was he rough. He was rough. And most of them would not talk to me. They wouldn't even come near me. Forget it, and I was like, gee, kind of being rude to me, and Mateo's, no, that's what Maasai, that's what the warriors are. They don't focus. But this one, and this was, I'll tell you when we get there. But anyway, we'll continue on. It's just so much to tell you guys. Oh my golly. It's like, so again, this is the healing soup. And there's the bark. The second picture, you can see it. The bark and the branches are all pounded and crushed up. This is the key. And I've got to research this really big. This is huge. It's powerful. I just feel that the wisdom that they have with these plants, even though they aren't ingesting and they're not eating the fibers and all that, they're getting the nutrients. And that's, they said, what these plants contain is powerful.
It's literal tree bark.
Oh, it's bark with the branches. So because you can see the branches, the bark is attached to the branch.
Yeah.
It was a whole branch together, and they just pounded it and broke it apart.
Cool.
Yeah.
Probably tastes pretty good.
I've heard other people talk that have gone here, and they said, oh gosh, it tasted like it, because some of the parts that are in the soup, you've got the intestines and you've got the stomach. You got some pretty, I thought it was delicious. I said, I've heard other people say, oh, it's just horrible. I could just taste the bile. I could taste, and I did. And I do have a video of me eating the stomach and the intestines, and there was some bile and stuff still on it. And I go, it was really rubbery,
Yeah.
It's like really no flavor, there's really not any flavor. But the soup, I thought it was delicious. I thought it tasted like chicken soup.
Wow.
I really thought it tasted like the broth, and they were having me guzzle it. And I was afraid, because I had such a hard time digesting fat.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm always talking about, I didn't have a problem with it. I didn't get indigestion. And I said, there's something to this. There's something to that plant.
Yeah.
There's something to it. And then I would drink a lot, because, Mateo was a little nervous. He's like, this is powerful, Suze. And I said, bring it on, and I guzzled it right down. It was delicious. So this is the chai tea. This is what their current diet is. So in the morning, they start out with at least a liter. This mug I had is a half liter. They're big, huge mugs. That's that's a half liter. So they drink at least 2 of those mugs every morning before they start. That's their breakfast.
With honey and cane sugar?
One or the other. Right now it's not the honey season, so they had cane sugar, and that's what they put in it. It wasn't a lot, and it looked to me. As I said to Tay, I said, what do you think the makings? What is it? So I'm thinking the ratio was probably 3 to 1, 3 cups of milk to 1 cup water. And then they just poured the sugar in. It was a huge, because a whole bunch of us were sitting there, a whole bunch of us. I was doing a live Instagram at this point, and the men were all there, and so she was sharing it with a bunch of us. So it was a huge.
So did she milk this that morning and then shared it with everyone?
Fresh that morning.
Wow.
Yeah, but again, now it's boiled because it's been cooked. But it was delicious. And it had the bark branch thing in it. It was absolutely delicious. And I said, I could handle this easily, because I don't like tea. I don't do tea. I don't drink tea with the tea bags and stuff. But I didn't have tea. The other tribes were using some kind of tea in there, so I wouldn't drink theirs. This was just that branch with the bark in it. It was delicious, just delicious. So that's what at least a liter of that. Okay. And they eat seasonally again. And then throughout the day, when they haven't slaughtered any animal, the women will drink about 4 liters of milk, and the men will have 6 to 8 liters of milk.
How many cups is that?
7. I think it's 25 cups for the men and 17 for the women.
So like just over a gallon.
Yeah. And it was, and they're beautiful. I mean, they're just so beautiful. And I did their blood. We can do another thing. I've got all their blood glucose levels and stuff. It was just profound. But the meat and I asked them, when I was there, we slaughtered twice. And so we had 2 different slaughtering camps.
Oh, yep.
And so we had meat twice a week. So the second time we did a slaughter, that was an animal that I purchased, I wanted to offer. And so we did another sheep. There was a whole bunch left over. And so we were going to store it in our storage tent for our meat, because I couldn't, it wasn't enough for me. It just wasn't enough food for me. So Menendo was making food for us as well. And I didn't want to keep taking their food. I didn't want to take their food. I just felt bad. This is their food. And so the night that we had stored all of our meat in the storage, our supply tent, all of a sudden I hear this horrible noise of ripping. And I thought my boys were being killed. I'm screaming at the top of my lungs, oh my gosh. And I'm like, Mateo, honey. And he's like, Mom, they're calling me Mom. Mom, I'm okay. We got it. And it was just, these animals were literally like viciously like ripping into I didn't know something was being demolished. And he said, just stay in your tent. And I'm thinking, okay, he's a warrior. I gotta let him do his thing. So he said, don't get out, just stay there. So the next morning, about 5 o'clock, I crawl out of my tent, and the tent is all ripped up. I said, what happened? And he goes, we were attacked by hyenas. I said, hyenas.
Oh my God.
He goes, I took care of it, Mom, don't worry. He goes, and then the dogs came, because all the tribes have dogs. Praise the Lord. And there was one, his name was Simba, and it means lion. And every day I'd come out of my tent, and there he was, right there protecting us. It was just so beautiful. And I think he was one of the ones that also helped. And with Mateo, with his machete and everything, they all were able to, but they got most of it, but they destroyed the tent. So I was like, oh my gosh. So our little encounter with the hyena. So
did they eat your lamb?
Everything was gone.
Aww.
Yeah. But we had some of it that day, but the next day there wasn't anything to be had. So
it sounds like they are pretty much right now eating a milk-based diet with some honey or cane sugar, that tree bark, and then meat a few days a week.
Yes, and then
the healing soup.
And then when they're out with their cattle, or the women, I'll show you what the women do. When they're out, they find berries. So the wild plum, which was out in season, they will stop and pick those. And so there's berries in season that they will eat. And yeah, so, but milk, and this is the thing that you and I were talking about, my dear girl. So I said, wait, but milk, it's got a lot of carbs. Milk is not a low carb. Milk has got some really good carbs going here. So because I know the cattle so well, but I'm not sure exactly what zebu, what we talked about. Gear, what we talked about, you guys talked about the gear, the gear or gear, it can be spelled GIR or GYIR. Those are zebu. They've got the hump. Okay,
Yep.
so any animal, any cattle that has the hump, that's in the zebu family.
Okay.
And Maasai, they call it the Maasai zebu. And so I've asked Mateo, he's going to ask his veterinarian to find out exactly which version it is. There's many versions. I'm wondering if it's the Desi zebu. There's different
Yeah.
kinds. So I gave different kinds of results because the zebu cattle have higher fat content, but they also have higher carb content in their milk than the standard cow. So the standard cow has a milk fat of about 3.5.
Yep.
Okay. The zebu, they can have a range. They can have a range from like 4.5 to 5.5, 6.5. They can have a range of it, but they also have a higher lactose. They're going to have more carb in it as well. So here we go. So I did a variety of different things to give us. So this is not exact, but I'm giving a good guesstimate on what I think their carb level would be just in the milk. Now remember, if they're eating raw meat and fresh meat, that also is going to have the glycogen. That's going to also have the same effect.
And the honey and the berries.
Yes, and the berries and the sugar cane. And also, if they're, it's the other research I would talk about. If they have gluconeogenesis with the protein, high protein, that's also going to also impact other things as well. There's just so much going on. But look at if you want to be everyone says they're doing ketosis. No, they're not. Ketosis, you have to have 50 or less, right? A day. Look at this. This is just a variety. So if we look at the women and the men, 6 liters for the men, 4 liters for the women. So in the 3.5 fat, which is the top row here, they would have protein would be at 20%, carb would be 35%, fat 45%. I know that theirs is more because I know their milk is much higher fat. But that's for anyone in our world. If you're drinking raw milk from a standard cow, okay, this is what you are getting carbs. You're getting carbs there. Now, look how much you're getting, okay? So now look down here, calories. For the men, they're getting 3,843 calories. That's not including the meat. This is just in their milk consumption, okay? The protein, 194.7 grams. Look at the carbs, 343.
Yeah.
Fat, 194.7. The women, if we look at their calorie intake, it was 2,569. The protein, 130.1 grams. Net carb, 229.6, fat, 130. Now, the Desi Zebu, now we're getting closer to what I think that their range would be, okay? This would be a 5.5. That's pretty close to, I think, what their fat intake would be in their milk. And we will find out because I'm going to have it tested. So again, their protein would be 23%, carbs, 27%, fat, 51%. For the women, protein, 23%, again, 27%, 51%.
But this is just milk. This doesn't
Just
consider.
milk. This is not including the berries, the sugar, the honey, or.
Do they do any roots or tubers?
No.
Oh, wow.
No.
Wow.
That's not part of their diet.
If they have this much milk, they don't really need it.
But Suze, I think this is important to discuss is they've never had a high PUFA diet. And so they can handle a mixed diet like this pretty well.
Absolutely.
Whereas someone who has been in a state of metabolic syndrome, high PUFA diets, this is kind of a recipe for disaster for some people.
To me, and I'm telling you, this is why I'm so concerned that when we say to people to even to have anything that's extreme.
Yeah.
When we're talking about let's go high fat, high meat. And if you aren't moving, if you're going to eat this kind of, look at the calories that they're consuming. Look at the high fat that they're consuming. If you aren't moving, let's just destroy our bodies. I mean, you have to use this energy. You have to. It's the same thing when I researched the Inuit. Just because it's so cold, it is so freezing there that alone is using up so much energy.
Yeah.
Because to keep themselves warm. I mean, when you look at the energy expenditure that they're having in the Inuits, it's powerful when you see that the levels on that. I mean, again, I've got so many papers I'm trying to work on. It's awful. I'm inundated. But the fact is, and I asked the elders here. We had a couple that were close to 100 in this tribe, and then I spoke with another 100-year-old and the next in another tribe. But they all said, and I said, don't you feel that when you eat this amount of meat and fat and milk, isn't movement important? They said, absolutely, you have to move. You cannot sit. They said, you've got to walk miles and miles a day.
Yeah.
And of course, they were all looking at my muscles. And I said, what is this? Saying like why do you have this? What do you think? And I said, don't you think it's important that we have muscles? And they said, no, wasting your time. I said, wasting my time? And they said, we aren't designed to do that. They said, you're designed to walk. You're designed to do what the women do. You don't need to be doing that lifting. You just go out and be a human. And I said, oh, okay. But then I understood, because when I went out with them, okay, and here you see what the women do. Okay, so while the men are out tending and taking all the cattle out morning to night, they will come back late at night, and they've been out with, in of course, the children. It was just unbelievable. There was a little 5-year-old, and I have a video of him. And I showed this to my granddaughter when she was here last weekend. And I said, honey, look at, he's 5 years old. He's got a spear. I'll show you my spear. Look at this spear. Of course, getting these back was a whole nother thing. But these are spears. Look at this. So I've got their walking sticks and their spears.
Oh, wow.
Look
Those
how
are massive.
This was made by the Datoga. So this is their spear
beautiful.
that they carry. And this, instead of using bows and arrows, this is what they use to protect themselves from lions and leopards, hyenas. And the children will have little small ones for them. So imagine
so cool.
people here in the United States, around the world, that we're so protective of our children. And this is a problem. This is what I think is part of the problem. When I was growing up, my mother, goodbye, go out and play. And I'm hanging from trees. I mean, 3 years old, and I'm climbing trees with my raccoons. Okay. I could have fallen, broken my neck. I didn't.
Yeah.
We are so protective now that children don't even have a clue of what it means to be able to assess the situation.
Yeah.
They're losing these. 5-year-old is out there by himself, walking miles to go to go give someone a break, to tend the flock at 5 years old. He's already being trained.
That's amazing.
To be a warrior. And I asked them, I said, is there any gender confusion here? They didn't know what I was talking about. I said, gender dysmorphia? I said, we've got a problem with that in our world. And they said, from the moment you're born, a boy is told you are going to be a warrior. You are going to be a man to protect your home and provide for your home. A woman, you are told this is what a woman. They were shocked when I tell them confusion. Huh? They were shocked. But look at this. So the women go out, and I went with them and spent the day with them. And to chop, I was trying, and I cut my own wood too. But these girls are such experts. They literally, and I've got a whole video of this. They can come right down, and they are hitting the same spot every time, and it's hours of chopping and cutting every day. So you have to walk miles, and you go to cut the wood, then you stack it up. Now I broke my arm during this trip, and I didn't tell anyone because I knew if I told Mateo, he probably would have sent me home. And I broke it the 6th day when I was at the Datoga. I broke my arm. And I didn't tell anyone. But I just said to him, I said, honey, when you guys break something, I said, how do you handle it? I said, you go to the doctors? He said, no, we just wrap it up and it'll heal itself within a couple of weeks. I said, good, okay. But I didn't wrap mine up because I think I'd broken this arm 4 times. This is my 4th time I broke it.
Oh
but
my God.
when I heard it snap, it wasn't like my other ones where I had to have them pull it. It wasn't a complete fracture. It was just a hairline, I think. But I wasn't sure, but it was pretty bad because you'll see pictures. But anyway, so I wanted to see it because I usually do. I can do dead. When I do the regular lifts, I can do like 150 pounds, but I couldn't tell because I couldn't lift with my arm. And I said, this thing is really heavy. I'm thinking theirs was at least 150 to 200 pounds that they were putting on their head. So they have a belt type thing of leather that they put around their head, and they carry these things. So I don't know if you can zoom in, but this is us walking across. I'm one of them carrying them, but they've got this thing hanging off their head, and we had to walk quite a ways with this hanging off it. Their neck and their shoulder muscles and their arms, the strength that these, but they don't have the muscles like I do because I work out to bodybuild. They put me to shame. The strength that these women have, just like the Datoga with her picking up that huge bucket and putting that on her head. They're so strong.
Yeah.
So strong. And they're working out and working out. No wonder they can consume these calories. And no wonder they have to because they're just working all day long. And then as soon as you get back from this, they have to go get water. They have to walk miles to go get water and bring that back. Now here they are, and then they do their laundry. They wash everything by hand. So it's all day long just to tend to have what they need to survive. And yet everyone, it's harsh and so forth. I loved every moment except for my fear of what am I going to, what am I experience? They're out. They've got so many things to milk. They've got their goats, their sheep, and their cattle morning and night to milk. They've got to do that. Plus, to help raise money, to help buy the cattle, and when everything dies or is killed, they make jewelry. And then they will hitch a ride into the village and they'll try to sell their jewelry. And so they're trying to make things to make money. It's powerful. It's so powerful to see how they live. And it's just such a beautiful, what a community. But the biggest thing that I found for me was not even just how they ate, because it was so beautiful and so to nature and all of them. And this tribe is doing everything they possibly can to not bring ugali and stuff in. They really don't want to. And some of those that have are noticing, they've told me that they are no longer what they used to be because they're replacing the blood and the milk with the ugali when they're healthier, when they're just doing the blood and the milk. So they think that when you replace something that's so nutrient dense with something that isn't as nutrient dense, that's where they're failing. So again, the men, this is where they go out. This is me. They taught me how to, I thought milking a goat, you guys know, milking a goat, I thought, I got this down. That was easy. Milking the cow was a whole other realm. It was like, oh my golly. But I just thought this is so beautiful. I thought, oh my gosh, I want to get some goats and sheep. I really want to have this. It was beautiful to do that. But this is them out on pasture. Notice how green it is. Okay. Soon, this will all be the dry season. They're going to have to find another place to go. And they will have to walk days and days and days. But that land has been taken away. So my biggest concern is, again, it's going to happen. They're going to die. I know, guys, this is getting so, probably people this is getting so, these are the elders, some of the elders from this tribe that I had a live Instagram with. And so the middle man is Mateo's father. He's 75 or 72. He's in his 70s. The two outer men are in their 90s. But again, remember, they don't know their age. They only guess. And the great thing about the Maasai is that when you're born, they have like an era of 10 to 15 year period that they give that era a name. And so you will know, this is the era I'm in. Or they'll try to figure out, did something happen at the time in history that I can remember, oh, this happened. And so they kind of guesstimate. So the two outer men, they're in their 90s, close to 100. Their teeth were gorgeous. They still are squatting, full squats. They walk and they're doing the same thing they did when they were 20 years old. They've not changed a thing. And I asked them, I said, what is the prime diet that keeps you healthy? And they said, meat, milk, and fat.
We're curious. So when they have the sugar with the milk, do they can just harvest cane sugar like from around where they're at, right?
I asked them, they said they do buy this one because but there are tribes, they get it from the tribes who grow it.
Okay.
And so that's because again, they're all
cane sugar grows abundantly over there.
Yes. And I saw, I mean, they brought, one of the tribes they brought us these big long sticks of sugar.
Yeah.
And
so cool.
And Mateo was just biting into it, just eating it. And so it was just,
sugar is not a bad food. Sugar contains both fructose and glucose. It is a sucrose source. So they saw value in it.
And they do consume it. They do. And they will. And
it contains minerals and energy.
Oh, absolutely. And we were talking about ash the other day when I was in the Pacific Islands.
Like the charcoal,
The ash. And I was thinking about this as we talked about it. They think about this, and even the people in the Deni tribe, they burn and slash where they will burn their crops because those crops, the ash is loaded with all the calcium and all the nutrients, the potassium, magnesium, the phosphorus, and that goes back into the ground.
Yeah.
And a lot of the tribes, including the Native Americans, there's certain ones, they actually will make a flour bread with some of the ash from specific trees that are known. Some of them are deadly. You don't want to use the ash from something. And if you're burning like toxic wood that has like chemicals impregnated with it and so forth, you do not even think of consuming that. But things from nature, certain trees have beneficial nutrients in that ash. But again, you got to know what you're doing. and they will make bread and so forth with that ash to get the nutrients. So there's power in everything that we're talking about. There's just power that we're learning from the tribes. But again, they do consume these things. They do. This is Simba. This is my dog that was always outside my tent when we were there. And look at it. You can see the tent is been ripped apart. This doesn't include the outer. There's also an outer layer that we put over all the tents that was also ripped apart
by the hyenas.
Yeah. And so this is what I bought them before I left. I wanted to give them a gift. So I bought them a goat, a regular goat, and then I bought them a pregnant sheep, and then I bought them a pregnant zebu cow, and then I bought them a pregnant goat as well. So
the ultimate gifts.
It is the ultimate gift.
Suze, how much were these animals over there?
Okay, so in American dollars, because I was using Tanzania, but you should have seen the Tanzania. Like it was like literally I was carrying these stacks because it's so much for a little bit. So the cow, we had to negotiate. Everything was negotiated. I got for $370. All the other, I think 95 for the two pregnant, the pregnant, 95 for the pregnant goat and the pregnant sheep, and I think 80 for the regular non-pregnant goat.
Wow. That's pretty cheap compared to what's
a great
these days.
What for a cow? And that's a pregnant cow.
A cow is like $3,000.
Get out.
Yeah.
For a pregnant one, or just regular?
A milking cow is like $3,000.
Probably.
So even when it's with child, you're gonna have a baby with it. So you're getting like 2 for 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're also getting it right before it starts to be abundant with milk.
Yes.
Too.
Yeah. And I just felt, wasn't that remarkable, you guys?
Yeah.
And I said I couldn't go wrong. They were just so happy. They were so.
That was probably the most beautiful one so far. As far as keeping tradition and.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just so. But this Maasai group and the other Maasai group, they are adamant about trying to stick so much to their diet and to their lifestyle. They don't want to change. But, and I've become very, very good friends. As a matter of fact, I was talking to the chief this morning, and they're so afraid. They're so afraid, you guys, that what are they going to do? They're the land. They're being forced out of their land. They're being forced to go into these villages where they're going to have to end up buying processed food, and they don't want to.
Yeah.
And so now I've been invited to go to see the inauguration of the chief of all the Maasai.
Wow.
This is just not a little tribe. This is like the president. Okay, so this is both Kenya and all the Tanzania, all of them, the Tanzania and Kenya tribes of all the Maasai. This is the head chief of all of them. And so I got to go, and I don't know why. It was so weird. I'm the only person that looked like me there. And I walk in, and they're all like pushing me up to go in, go in. And I'm just like, I was so welcomed. And of course, the third picture, this is with Mateos. A lot of his family members were there. So I just felt like I was a part of their family. So they were calling me the White Maasai. You know what I mean? You're the White Maasai. And they brought me the big white thing to wear around my neck, and it was just, I just felt such a part of them.
That's so special.
And the middle picture, you can see there, I'm a close up with him, and his name is Chief Kiaro Otendo. And there he is. Oh, he's so beautiful. And he's with his wife. And there was chiefs from all over. All the chiefs from all the tribes from all over Kenya and Tanzania came, and they traveled for days to get there. I mean, there was thousands of people, thousands. And the slaughter camp was enormous. They had slaughtered cows, all different kinds of animals. So many animals had to be cooked to feed all the people that were there. It was profound, absolutely profound. And I've got a lot of videos on this. I've got live chats. I'm going to be doing this. I've said that to the chief. We got to do some live chats again. And he's like, anytime, let me know. So if you guys have questions and stuff, send me your questions, or just even the day that we do the live, you can just ask questions and we'll ask him.
Yeah.
He speaks English pretty well. They all speak English.
Wow.
Okay, Suze, we've got it. It's just past 6 here. We've got to start wrapping up, and we'll have to just do another call.
I'm saying let's just do a whole nother one on the rest. Like, I feel like this is actually a 5-part.
But
there's so much to share. And of course, so the next one, guys, I'll make another one that will add the blood glucose and the health outcomes.
Yes.
And different things and we'll actually all their teeth we can look at. There's the chief came to see me at my hotel.
Well, let's not skip over this. Let's just pause, and then let's literally finish this one, because I want to see all of this too.
Yeah, because we got a whole nother tribe, another Maasai tribe, plus their wedding.
I think we have a few more.
Oh, there's quite a bit.
Yeah, I think we're only on 4 or 5.
Okay, so next time I would love to kind of have.
Well, let's remember where we end. So we ended
the last tribe.
We're not done with Maasai yet.
Yeah, because we still have another Maasai.
She had a few more sides. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then also like
and then
insights.
The Sandro tribe.
Insights on all the different tribes that you've seen.
Oh,
not yet. We got to finish. I want to know.
Well, yeah.
Once we're done with that, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys.
This is so beautiful.
I'm sorry I ramble. There's just so much to share.
No,
so much
I think that's part of what makes the story so powerful is like I can hear moments. I can't see you because we're looking at the screen, but I can hear when you're tearing up. I can hear when you're getting emotional. And I think that's what makes this so special. So I can't wait to hear the rest.